Thanks for joining us here in Town Hall and on Zoom. Oh, it's not on. Okay. I have a pretty loud voice, but all right. Evening, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us here at Town Hall and on Zoom for the annual Meet the Candidates night. This is an opportunity for candidates on the November 4th ballot to share with citizens their ideas about issues that they consider most important to our town and our school community. And we thank all of them for their willingness to serve. We ask the audience here in Town Hall not to interrupt candidates with comments or applause. Remote audience members will be muted, and we ask that people at home keep their cameras off to avoid distractions. Tonight's event is sponsored by the South Berwick Reporter, the free local news site, and is being recorded and will be posted on the South Berwick Reporter's Facebook page and shared with the South Berwick Bulletin for later viewing. All candidates were given the same 3 questions in advance so that they could prepare their responses. And this year, given the number of candidates that we have, we've reduced the number and scope of the questions to allow the candidates to set the agenda and let you know what's most important to them individually. If time allows, written questions will be taken from the audience. And if we don't have time for questions, we do have a lot of candidates to get through. If the candidates could maybe share your contact information, maybe in your closing statement or something, just so that people know if they do have questions, how they can reach you, that would be great. So candidates are going to have up to 3 minutes to answer each question. The timekeeper, Len Bo, will ring a bell, 30 seconds. 30 seconds before the time's up. And then that gives you 30 more seconds to finish your statements and close up. So candidates are going to be called to the podium in alphabetical order by their last name. Each candidate will come to the podium 3 times, first to introduce themselves, then to answer an open-ended question about their priorities, and finally for their closing remarks. And candidates, as you come to the podium, if you would just make sure to adjust the screen and the microphone to make sure that the folks on Zoom can see you and hear you. That'd be great. All right. We'll begin by hearing from 6 candidates who are running for 2 3-year seats on the town council. And the candidates are Brendan Boyle, incumbent Melissa Costella, Sam Flingstrom, Charles Nadeau, Paul Schumacher, and Candace Thompson. And then we're going to hear from 2 candidates, Brian Hussey and Joel Martin, who are running for 2-year seat to close out the term that was vacated by former councilor Bill Cole in July. And then finally, for the MSAD 35 Board of Directors seat, we have incumbent Joe Long, who is the sole candidate. So we're going to start with the first set of 6 town council candidates. And as I call your name, if you would just please come up to the podium and respond to question 1. And question 1 asks, please tell us briefly about yourself. What skills, background, and previous experience do you or would you bring to the town council? And we're going to start with Brendan Dan Boyle.
Good evening. My name is Brendan Boyle, although I've gone by Dan Boyle my entire life. You can blame my parents for that. When they were bringing me home from the hospital, they looked down and said, he looks like Dan. So the only place you'll see me listed as Brendan Boyle is on the ballot, or if I'm at a doctor's office, or with the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. I am a proud citizen of South Berwick. I've lived here for 25 years, raising my family here, and I'm running for one of the 3-year seats for the town council. I've worked for the last 29 years as a timber framer with Preservation Timber Framing out of Berwick, Maine, as a lead carpenter and a project manager, project estimator, and all things in between. My wife, Sarah, and I have 3 children. Caleb is in his 2nd year at Maine Maritime Academy studying marine engineering. Simon is a senior at Marshwood High School, and Elise is a sophomore. As for my background, I think I've got a pretty long record of community involvement. In 2003, I was appointed to the Historic District Commission, and I've served continuously for the past 22 years. I sit on the board of directors at Sobo Central. I currently am also on the Downtown Revitalization Committee, the Recreation Board, and the president of Powder House Hill. And in addition to that, I also, outside of town, sit on the curriculum development committees for Somersworth and Dover High Schools Career Technical Centers, developing the curriculum in the construction trades programs. What I think all these things have brought me to is the ability to work with others and listen to them. My ability to adapt to changes in zoning, in policy, in state laws, local laws, knowledge of working with nonprofits, specifically how they tie in with towns. And I believe that I believe in progress and moving our town forward. There's going to be a lot of changes coming up in the coming years. I also believe we need to find a balance between a healthy town and some fiscal responsibility. I'm asking for your vote. My pledge is to be open and available to everybody, to listen to your voice and voice your concerns to the town council, even if they don't necessarily agree with my views. It's not my job to filter. It's my job to bring things to the town council and communicate with the town manager. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. I am Melissa Costello. As the current vice chair of your town council, I come to this event tonight with a slight advantage over the other candidates. This is not my first rodeo. So let's start with a reacquainting recap. I am a South Berwick native with half a century of residency here. I've been married for 23 years and I don't have any children. I'm a 1993 graduate of Marshwood, and in 1997, I obtained a BA in communications. For the last 18 years, I have owned and operated a masonry and landscape construction business. In my spare time, I enjoy spending time with my friends, exploring the great outdoors, and volunteering with a local nonprofit group. And before this sounds any more like a bad episode of the dating game than it already does, I'm going to move on to what I can bring to this council. While my education and work experience undeniably translate to qualities beneficial for a town council, the two crucial qualifications I can bring to the table is experience and knowledge. I already understand the powers and duties of this position and have acted accordingly with Article 1, Section 2 of our town charter as they are described. Your elected officials have the responsibility to appoint and remove the town manager as well as the town attorney. They must provide for an annual audit, appoint planning board, board of zoning appeals, and board of assessment review members, as well as other committee positions. By ordinance, the council create, change, and abolish office departments and agency other than those established by the charter. The council makes, alters, and repeals ordinances, including the power to enact ordinances, providing for the grant of licenses and permits for the conduct of any business. The council can inquire into the conduct of any office, department, or agency of the town and make investigation as to municipal affairs. They recommend the annual budget to the town meeting, adopt and modify maps of the town, and are the Board of Assessors as well as the overseers of the poor. I recite this to you because you need to be reminded what being a counselor entails completely and to ponder which candidate can execute all of these duties. I also read this for the other candidates sitting here tonight, as I'd be willing to bet some of them are not fully aware of the scope of services they will be responsible for if elected. Because 3 years ago, I know I sure didn't. But now I do. I know the job, my duties, my obligations, and if reelected, you can expect nothing less from me to continue to perform my civic responsibilities to the best of my abilities, as I have been told I do, and strive to do nothing less than exceed your expectations as a counselor.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Flingstrom. I grew up in South Berwick, graduated from Marshwood in 2008. After I graduated, I attended the University of Vermont, where I received my Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. Then I went off into the construction field to be a project manager and engineer for an energy services company, working across the country on various federal energy savings performance contracts with various federal agencies, the DoD, DOE, FAA, etc. I did that for about a decade, after which I went off on my own and started my own engineering firm, got my professional engineering license, and returned back to South Berwick in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic when my partner and I lost our contract in Hawaii. I have two daughters, one 5.5 and one 19 months. My partner Roxanne and I also own Happy Valley Beer and Wine Garden, which is located in the old Rio's Barber Shop. We bought that property and spent 18 months going through the planning board for a change of use to open that restaurant. And that was when I initially got interested in getting involved in politics in South Berwick. For a brief moment after that, I joined the Zoning Board of Appeals as sort of an entrance into my public service. And then I later moved to the Historic District Commission, which Dan also serves on. So all that being said, my experience going through planning board, obviously in South Berwick, brings me, experience with the chapter 140, the zoning ordinance, having had issues going through it, sort of forced to figure out where the demons lie in our ordinances and why maybe it's difficult for small businesses in our town to open up and start thriving. So as a town councilor, I'll take that knowledge that I gained, as well as my detail-oriented mindset that I have as an engineer, to actually implement changes to the zoning ordinances or suggest changes and, actually make the changes. Because at least in the last 3 years since we have gone through, I've only seen a handful of zoning ordinances that have been changed. So that's me. You can check out my website, samflingstrom.com, for more information on myself, as well as my priorities, and my contact information is there as well. Thank you.
I'm Charles Netto. Lived and resided on Knights Pond Road for well over 20 years. Actually worked in South Berwick for the first 14 years for a local construction company until it was closed by the family due to a death. And then started commuting to metropolitan Boston every day from South Berwick and working all over the United States until I retired here last year. So I've had a lot of opportunity over the last 3 years of looking at where the town has been, where it's going, where its deficiencies are. And as now a retired member of this community, my focus has dramatically changed on the elder population of this community. The town has got a financial leash that needs to be controlled. And not only that, but the problems with the education, the cost of what our responsibilities are for our education of the students, whether or not we're getting the best bang for our buck, and I don't believe we are. Since I don't have a reason to have a full-time job, my emphasis is going to be more towards what I can do within the town. So that's going to be my full-time endeavor. I don't have to, chase. I can get educated and be able to take the input from the community and try to instrument that into making corrections where they need to be created. I don't have any outside political game or anything that I want to play. Moved to South Berwick. I like South Berwick. I'd like to continue to live in South Berwick. However, now I have to pay certain emphasis on, can I afford to stay in South Berwick? And the way in which things presently are going, a lot of people in the area in which I reside now have to question whether or not we can afford to continue to live here. So, that's what I'm offering to the community. And, if you choose to vote for me, I appreciate it, and I'll work just as hard as I did every day when I was out trying to make a living so that I can continue to stay here. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you. Well, I'd like to thank the South Berwick Reporter for putting this on. And thank you all for coming, and thank you to everybody out there in Zoom land. Welcome. My name is Paul Schumacher. I came to South Berwick in 1987 as the first town planner. Built a home, started a family, and my wife started her own business. At that point, it was a time of extremely rapid growth. And in between reviewing development proposals, I wrote grants and helped develop the ball fields at Agamenticus, helped develop the boat launch park at the Dover Elliott Bridge, assisted with the town's first comprehensive plan, wrote the zoning ordinance which followed, and assisted with conservation efforts around the Salmon Falls River on Mount Agamenticus, to name a few projects. I am really proud of all that work, and it's gratifying to still see the impacts that that work has today. But it's really the work in the following 25 years that I would like to highlight about what it can bring to the town council. In 1996, I was appointed as the executive director of the Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission. And the mission of that organization is to provide technical assistance and project support and resources to towns in York and Oxford County. A few examples of what we did, and I think they're relevant to what I am trying to get across tonight. In 2006, we got a $200,000 environmental assessment grant from EPA, and over time developed that into a $20 million cleanup and loan program, revitalizing downtowns, such as the Mill District in Biddeford, creating affordable housing and small businesses, which included a $200,000 cleanup grant for what is now the South Berwick Library. And you can still see some of the work that's being done up at the prime tanning site in Berwick as they reconstruct a new downtown. The organization created the federally funded Regional Economic Development Office in York County, which has provided loans and grants to businesses throughout the region. This included over $500,000 in grants to South Berwick businesses during the COVID-19 epidemic for all the losses that a number of those businesses suffered at that time. In 2020, we started the first New England Regional Sustainability and Resiliency Program, helping towns deal with climate change and energy improvements. South Berwick is currently benefiting from that program with grants for energy improvements right in this town hall. And finally, SMPDC also managed the transportation planning for Southern York County and supported the town's studies and efforts to finally solve the downtown traffic issue with a traffic light. Woohoo! But the most important part of this is that for 25 years, I've practiced listening to many different perspectives, bringing people towards collaboration and consensus. This involved working in numerous communities with select boards and councils, state and federal agencies, and most of all, the public. And I firmly believe that right now we need people who have a strong understanding about how municipal government and state government work and can work across differences to get things done. You can debit my next presentation from that, okay? So thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Candace Thompson. I have lived in South Berwick for the last 36 years. And I am proud to raise my 3 children here. Jameson is 21, Cassidy is 14, and Kensley, my 7-year-old. I grew up in our local schools, beginning at Seacoast Christian before transferring to Central my 5th grade year to get me used to the kids there before going to the middle school, which was in Elliott when I attended. No, it was at Great Works. The high school was in Elliott. I graduated in 2001 from Marshwood High School and went on to Macintosh College to receive my associates in criminal justice. I played in all of the youth sports that our town has offered. And I remain a part of those actively to this day. I spent the last 15 years deeply involved in our town's youth and recreation programs, serving on the soccer board for 15 years straight. Even when we transferred from a volunteer program to a town program, I remained with them for another 7 years before just leaving last year. I have been on the softball booster board for 4 years at the high school with the middle school. I was a part of the baseball board when my son played. I'm currently, as of last night, returning as the vice president of our local Little League softball and the president of the school softball booster board. And outside of our town, I am the district administrator for Maine Little League District 4. Supporting our youth and strengthening our community programs is at the heart of why I'm running for town council. I believe that thoughtful change and lasting tradition can and should go hand in hand with creating a strong future while honoring the traditions that make our community special. I don't know. I have done other community events such as Strawberry Festival, our Easter egg hunt, our hike through histories. I've spent countless hours helping at our schools, on our fields, across our community, because I believe in the power of showing up for South Berwick. As our town continues to evolve, it's important that we move forward in ways that strengthen our community values, support our youth and families, and preserve what makes us unique. While I am passionate about empowering youth, supporting local sports and rec, and ensuring every resident has a voice in shaping our community and future, I am also committed to being a steady, compassionate advocate who listens, collaborates, and works hard for the people of South Berwick, while supporting our town economically, financially, traditionally, and responsibly. Together, I feel we can build on it, what makes us strong. Thank you.
All right, so that was our first question. Second question again is just fairly general to allow the candidates to share their priorities with you. So we asked them, in your view, what are the top 2 issues facing the town of South Berwick right now? How do you think the town council should address them? And please be specific about the issues and your recommendations. Okay. Okay, so we'll start again with Dan.
I'm back. So I sort of looking at things, how things are going. South Berwick really is sort of at a crossroads right now. I feel that there are a lot of changes coming at the state level that are really going to impact the way South Berwick grows and changes. The passage of LD 1829, for example, within the growth area of South Berwick, which is the downtown area and a little bit beyond, LD 1829 is going to allow in towns for a maximum density, I believe, of housing of 32 housing units per acre. So that could really change the way some of these neighborhoods look. With proper planning and execution, I feel that a balance can be obtained that preserves our downtown, the one we have that is, has businesses in it, is a walking downtown, and it can also work towards housing, providing housing for young families. In order to get ahead of these changes, we're going to have to make changes to our zoning laws quickly, because if we don't make those changes, I don't mean to sound like an alarmist, but the developers will. We need to be sort of ahead of these things, and seeing as LD 1829 goes into effect July 1st, sorry, the time to act is sort of now, and we need to act quickly. That brings up another challenge is communicating these changes to people. There's going to have to be some communication from the town and sort of a clearinghouse where they can get that information, because there's nothing worse than feeling like changes happened and you never knew about it until it's too late. So the town is going to have to really reach out. Every time I've ever looked for information from the town, they've been very willing. I've been able to find it either on the website or making a phone call, stopping at a town hall. The people who have the answers are always available, but we need to make sure that that information gets to people who don't have the advantage to, spend time on their computer or get into town hall. We can do outreach, I think, through other programs, through schools. We can make sure that we're getting to the families that have children in the schools. We do need to look at, there are a lot of people in this area that are homeschooled, and we have to figure out a way to reach them. We can do outreach through church groups. We can do outreach through other, sports groups. Make sure that the people who have a stake in this get the information that they need. Thank you.
A big issue facing the town of South Berwick is our upside down and backwards municipal tax base, which currently sits at being 94% residential and 6% business. Why is it imperative to close the gap between the two components that make up our municipal tax base? 3 words: property tax relief. That's right. More business in town can lessen your tax responsibility. I mean, businesses have other benefits to municipalities, like generating jobs, stimulating economy, and can revitalize a town by filling empty storefronts. But I probably could have stopped at property tax relief. My suggestion to the council to address the unbalance of the municipal tax base is simple. Keep doing what they are doing. Your town council, which, friendly reminder here, I am currently a part of, is fully aware of this issue and is already in the process of tackling it. While time restricts me to deep dive into every initiative the council is throwing at this matter, know that the effort is being put forth to alleviate your property tax burden, and I would encourage the council to not pump any brakes on this matter. Another significant issue the town is facing stems from a state bill recently signed into law, 1829. LD 1829, in short, is a bill that encourages affordable housing and increases housing availability, which in theory sounds great, right? As we all know, this is a problem. However, what the implementation of this law will actually do is erode municipal home rule. Not only does that come with great cost and challenge, but it is also the definition of legislative overreach. I'm not kidding, folks. With the design of this bill being a one-size-fits-all zoning reform Band-Aid that does not recognize or value rural communities like our town, South Berwick is facing a real problem here that can shatter our municipality both financially and aesthetically. So what are we going to do about this? Aside from encouraging the people to initiate a petition to repeal this insanity, I'm not sure there's much else we can do, as I'm still looking into it. We can, however, use this as a teaching moment that reminds us, the council, the importance of paying more attention to things going on at the state level, particularly that potential laws that will negatively impact the operation and character of our town and all the people in it. Becoming more aware of legislative agendas that could be passed to law is our only solution moving forward, so we can proactively address the issue before they can't be undone. Otherwise, we will continue to suffer the consequences, as we will be doing with LD 1829.
So, spending and state laws that are coming down on us, and we need to address it. Not much we can do about it. How can we make it work to our advantage? We need these businesses in these business front properties in downtown. Maybe we should take a look at this legislation, and honestly, I'm not very well versed on it, but maybe we should take what we have and figure out how we can make it work in our favor to build more commercial storefronts in our downtown and write the ordinances so that we can leverage what has already been written and take more control, or take what control we can from it and use it to our advantage. That, like Melissa said, more businesses will help shift that tax base or the property tax relief. I was right. My thing is that my top priority is getting South Berwick spending under control and doing it in a responsible manner. I think one of the ways we need to do that is to take a look at our general ledger accounts and make sure that they're properly aligned from department to department. Make sure that when we're drafting our budgets, each line item has, you know, no more than a certain threshold. We need to make sure that if there are large line items out there, that the departments need to validate what they are, not just in a notes column on the budget summary. And like Charles was saying, when people are already thinking about leaving town in search of lower cost of living because they are being forced out because of these property taxes, it's super important. If we don't have a wide base of citizens with varying income levels, then we lose, you know, a community that functions on all levels that's a little more independent from the state, right? Like we want to rely as little as possible on outside influence. We need to look for outside funding when possible. And with the comprehensive plan and the downtown revitalization plan, we need to make sure that when we start to implement the items that are in those plans, because they're great, that we're considering first, how can we fund them outside of our own tax base? We can't be taking $1 million out of the undesignated fund every year to fund, you know, these nice to haves, as they're called. All that being said, like I said, I love those plans. I'd love to get them implemented. And I think there's just some organization that needs to happen on the accounting and budgeting side so that we know exactly where everything's going, what the true costs of things are, and change what's not working and keep what's working. To that note, I think we need better capital planning too for all of our public infrastructure, such as roads, culverts, sidewalks. We need to know the age and condition of all that. So when we make decisions like the town hall renovation, which is planned to cost $11 million, including interest, that we have considered other capital projects that are in the pipeline before we pull the trigger on things like that. Thank you.
Charles Nato?
Everybody keeps referring to what changes need to be made. However, I think we've missed the real point of the issue is controlling it. Every time I've been actively attending the council meetings, and it seems every conversation comes up of, we found a great deal and they jumped on it. The town seems to be very loose in regards to town funds or how they're expended and used. We need to get that under control. The added cost and the fact that we just had all of our properties reevaluated. How they were reevaluated or what we got for our buck with the company that came out and did the assessment. I was at my house. I was sitting in my yard when a car pulled in. The person never got out of the car, never walked to the door of my house, never put anything on the door stating that they had come out to do an appraisal of my property. Were there 10, 15 minutes and then backed out of the yard and was down the road. I don't think we got the best bang for our buck on our appraisal. I think the appraisals that came back need to be reevaluated. There needs to be a lot more accountability in this town. Are we getting the best bang for our buck? I know when I go out to buy something, I have to go out and get I'm looking at 3 prices. If I can get more, that's great. But I'm not hearing that we're competitively going out to bid or we're looking for any additional information or support. We're not the only community in this right now that's having these problems. It's all along the coast of the sea coast. So if everybody's in the same boat and we all start communicating and determining, maybe we might be able to do a better or get a better price for something with more community involvement. We can't continue. We can't keep on saying we're passing the budget for the kids. We're not, if you turn around and you look at where we stand as far as the state scale on education, Marshwood has gone from being within the top 10 here 15 years ago to damn near the bottom. So education wise, we've got to get back to education's got to get back to the basics, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And the cost I don't have a problem paying a teacher to do a job. However, in order to get that payment, we really need to see return on our investment. And I'm not seeing it. So, thank you.
Paul Schumacher?
Hello again. My first priority is to ensure that the town continues to move forward, particularly with the plans and programs that we've recently adopted. We have an adopted comprehensive plan, a downtown revitalization plan, an economic development plan, and a plan for the traffic situation downtown. All of these efforts had community input, citizen input and hearings, and they were approved by the town council. I continually hear at the end of a lot of these programs and projects and plans, we cannot let these plans sit on a shelf. I heard that in this very room a number of times. I do not plan to let these efforts sit on a shelf. Because I think if they are implemented, they address the concerns that I think all of us like to see addressed to enable the town to grow in a sustainable way that preserves the reason why we all value this community and chose to live here. All these plans address traffic, the need for more affordable housing so our children, first responders, and teachers might be able to stay here. Continued land conservation, which is of great importance to a lot of people in this town. Trails and recreation, and of course, a revitalized and thriving downtown. And importantly, I think we have the ability to pay for many of these efforts through sensible use of our TIF funds and through the work of our professional planning department. South Berwick has been shaped over the course of hundreds of years through arts and culture and agriculture and land conservation and downtown, and I think we can support that continued growth through these implementation of these plans. I think the answers are right in front of us. We just need to get these things done. Secondly, I just want to quickly address communications. I think it's an issue. I've been out, I've talked to some people, I've knocked on some doors lately. I heard one key thing about recent revaluation, and for some of the increase in taxes was not the only concern, but as how a lot of people were caught very much unaware that it was coming. I think the town could greatly improve communications through increased social media presence, a bi-monthly electronic newsletter, which is not just solely about town government. Continuing interaction with the South Berwick Reporter. We don't have any other media outlets here. And more face-to-face interaction with the council outside of public hearings, public audience, and our letters to the council. Kennebunk, the town of Kennebunk, for instance, has the selectmen have quarterly Saturdays with elected officials just to sit down face-to-face over coffee with no prescribed topics. I think that we can certainly look to try to do that. And it's time to think differently about how we communicate here in town and particularly try to do more face-to-face and not leave all of this stuff up to social media, outside social media websites. So thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So I believe in smart spending, accountability, and keeping taxes manageable in South Berwick for our families. We need to prioritize essential services, look for efficiencies, and make sure every dollar is spent where it truly benefits our community. Investing in our kids and recreation programs, keeping our community strong and connected, our fields, our programs, and volunteers build pride and teach teamwork. These are investments in our future leaders. Local businesses are the backbone of South Berwick. We need to help them grow and stay here. By supporting local shops and streamlining town processes, we keep our downtown vibrant and our economy local. Growth is good when it's thoughtful. We must protect what makes South Berwick special. We can plan for housing and infrastructure while preserving our open spaces and our small town character. People deserve to be heard, and we need to keep communication open, honest, and transparent. Making sure our residents know what's happening and have real opportunities to share their input before decisions are made. We can welcome change while preserving the traditions that make South Berwick home. Our festivals, our local events, and small town values are what bring us together. We can grow without losing the spirit.
All right, so now this is just going to be some closing remarks from the candidates. So just use your last 3 minutes to tell us anything else you would like to address tonight. And we'll start with Brendan Boyle.
I guess we're back at the top of the batting order. We're fortunate to live in South Berwick. We're fortunate to be in a town where so many people give so much. I noticed it this summer when I was at Strawberry Festival. Just if you look around, how many people are wearing shirts that say volunteer on them. And it's not just the Strawberry Festival shirts. It's, stuff from road races or soccer tournaments, things like that. It's a really great thing to see. And one of the things you notice if you walk around town, when my kids were little, how many adults that the kids know as coach. We're fortunate to have so many people who feel good giving back time to the town. Take a look at the Aggie ball fields. I mean, you can hardly see through the fences because there are so many sponsorship banners there. And just take a moment to be thankful. We citizens have been fortunate to have so many leaders in the past who have blazed such a clear trail for us, the path forward. We're fortunate to have so many people who have given back because they want to. We're here tonight on a stage and an example. We got all these people in town who have donated a lot of time and are looking to do more rather than less. I'm honored to be part of this group, and I feel fortunate to be in this town. If anybody is looking to contact me, my email address is on the town website for the Historic District Commission. It's kind of long and mouthful to spell out for you folks. I'm also in the phone book, if you remember those, the phone book. I still have a landline phone. My phone number is 384-5652. If you want to give me a call, we can talk. And if you want to call me on my cell phone, which the reason I have a landline is because my cell phone doesn't work in my house at all. So in the evenings, call the home phone. During the day, it's 603-781-9907. Thank you.
Melissa Costello.
As the lone incumbent standing here tonight, thanks, Jeff, I would like to believe that your familiarity with me and my stellar job performance as a counselor thus far is enough for you to justify re-electing me for another term. But far be it for me to assume anything, as we all know what assuming does. So if you have any hesitations about voting for me, here's a few more fun facts that may solidify your decision that I am not just a good choice to be a counselor, I'm the right choice. As a counselor, I had perfect attendance. Whether it was a regularly scheduled meeting, a special executive session called for interviews or legal instruction, or a budget, an ordinance, or a project workshop that occurred, I was there 103 times and counting. I have a certain diligence for attention to detail. Thousands of pages pertaining to town business have crossed my desk as a counselor, and I have read every single one of them, including the town charter and code. In seeking re-election, you should be relieved to know I don't have a personal agenda that's driving me. I simply wish to represent the interests of our residents with dignity, respect, and a concern for all. I do have a desire to finish the projects that were started for the town when I joined the council team. The town hall renovation, traffic light installation, downtown revitalization, to name a few. I have the capability and conscience to abide to the code of conduct that councilors are oathed to uphold. I'm fiscally responsible and am not afraid to say no or do better in budget workshops and demand justification to line items that seem more like a want than a need. I'm not afraid to ask questions, not the easy ones, the potentially hard ones, or even the seemingly stupid ones that might make me look like a dope. If I have a question, I'm not holding back. The final fun fact I want to leave you with is how I perceive myself. I think of myself as a Swiss Army knife, where I can adapt to any situation, solve problems creatively, and occasionally open a bottle of wine, which might be most beneficial tonight because after this, I'm sure we're all going to need a drink. But seriously, whether it's tackling unexpected challenges, brainstorming innovative solutions, or collaborating with diverse teams, I pride myself on being resourceful and versatile in every aspect a counselor needs to be. So thank you in advance for consideration in re-electing me to your town council. It's been an honor to serve you, and sincerely I hope I have the opportunity to continue to do so, and with your vote, I can. Thank you. Sam?
So as an engineer and business owner, I think I have and someone who's 35. I bring some fresh new ideas and new experience to the table. If I were elected, I would take that experience and my existence in the downtown community, for example. I don't think there's anyone else here that's running that lives in the downtown or runs a business in the downtown. And leverage that in my connections to other downtown businesses and people that live in that area and are going to be greatly affected by the projects that are inevitable for the downtown. I am an open book. I'm super intent on transparency, ethics, and accountability. I agree there needs to be more methods that people can communicate with our counselors and also receive information. I think there's a lot of missing proactive disclosure of public information. For example, one of my ideas is that every town council meeting, there's a warrant that gets signed, which has, all the checks that were cut for the last 2 weeks. That should, in my opinion, be accompanied by some sort of financial statement that shows the town's net position and how it's changed over the last 2 weeks. I think that would help better identify earlier on where spendings are potentially going to overrun and where budgets are potentially too large for the department or the account that it's related to. Organizing and just getting things in order is what I love to do, and that's, I think, what makes me good as an engineer. And I want to bring that mindset to town council. I have 2 young kids. My eldest daughter is in kindergarten. We're committed to this town. My parents still live in the same house that I grew up in. Roxanne, my partner's parents, the same. I have multiple siblings that also live in South Berwick. I'm not moving. So I'm here for it. I'm here for the community. It's what I was growing up being. I grew up being involved, volunteering during the Strawberry Festival. Got the Nancy Spalding Scholarship for doing so. Yeah, and I look forward to hopefully getting your vote and being able to help lead this town. Thank you.
I think the biggest thing that can be achieved as far as the town is opening up the avenue of communication. The town website isn't necessarily being used in its best manner. And the town is South Berwick is one of the few towns when you ride around that you don't see an information board outside on the street saying upcoming meeting or a committee is going to meet or planning board or anything to express trying to note some sort of outside interest. Tonight, great turnout. But during the town council meeting, it's typically the same 10 or 15 people that show up. There isn't a lot of involvement. When I went out to go and collect signatures, I thought Agamenticus Estates would be a great place to walk around. However, I all of a sudden realized that Agamenticus Estates is made up of a lot of people who are involved with the military, people who are assigned to either Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, Pease, and as I found out, there are 3 families in Agamenticus Estates that have been reassigned to Brunswick. So they're commuting from South Berwick to Brunswick every day. And because of their service, they aren't active voters in this town. So there is a lot of people in this community who aren't actively have any participation at all in the community. And the reason why they're staying here when I asked was because they knew the makeup of the community and the school. And the school was starting to really become concerning, and a few of them were talking about doing homeschooling. So there's a base in this community that we're not participating around here. So we need to look at checks and balances and open the avenue of communications, which is something in which I would like to see. So thank you for your time. If you choose to vote for me, I appreciate it. And hopefully I won't disappoint you. Thank you.
Paul Schumacher?
Well, you know, when Sam mentioned his age, I realized I think I'm the oldest person running for office here, but that's a good thing. I assure you. I mean, with age comes wisdom, right? But also it comes with some creativity because I've been around the block. I've done a number of things over the years. I've seen what cities and towns can do and can't do or shouldn't have done. So I know you've all been on the edge of your seat wondering how I might talk about town spending and budget, and I do have some thoughts and ideas on that. You know, right now we have one opportunity right now. The town's looking at impact fees through the council, through the planning office. And I think that would be a really cool thing to try to get done. It would help. It's a fee on new construction, and it helps pay for needed infrastructure, and we can sort of significantly lower the cost of some of the projects that we've been talking about. I do think we need to look at ways to be more efficient and opportunities for collaboration. And this was a topic that was discussed like statewide a number of years ago. We sort of talk about things when we're in trouble, and then we get out of trouble, and then we don't talk about them anymore. But I think once again, it's time to talk about looking at sharing services, personnel, and facilities with neighboring towns whenever possible. I mean, these are just ideas that we might pursue as far as ways to be more efficient. Actually, it's funny because when I was the town planner here a long time ago, I was actually shared with the town of Berwick for 3 or 4 years as the planner. And it wasn't rocket science. I think the two managers got together for like 15 minutes and said, okay, here, you're shared to have a good time. So I think that those are things that we can think about. My former agency runs a cooperative purchasing program where towns in York County can jointly purchase salt, office supplies, other items. We need to take another look at that and think about if they can be expanded and whether we want to be involved. Towns were literally saving hundreds of thousands of dollars on that program. There are challenges, and I think the key one in talking to people around here and knocking on doors was that I think I have a concern about, like I think other people do, about not driving out people who have lived here for a generation. Senior citizens and also people who may be less or who are vulnerable. I think the town needs to investigate local solutions for tax relief for those people. I know other towns have done that. I know the state's going to be looking at trying to do that, and I think we need to make sure that we are part of that as we move along. So thank you. I have a website, Shoe for Council. And I've also been knocking on doors and I've really enjoyed it. And if I knock on your door, I'm not the guy selling you a solar plan, okay? I'm trying to help get elected, but you know, whatever, you know. So anyway, thank you very much and thank you all for coming.
Last, we have Candace Thompson.
Okay, so I'm sure we all know by now, public speaking is not my forte. South Berwick is more than just a place we live. It's a community where we can build together. I'm running for town council because I believe teamwork, accountability, and keeping our town strong for generations to come. I'd be honored to earn your vote and your trust. Let's keep South Berwick moving forward together. That's all I got. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Zoom, for being here.
Okay, so as a reminder, those were the 6 candidates running for 2 3-year seats on the town council. And next, we're going to hear from 2 candidates, Brian Hussey and Joel Martin, who are running for the 2-year seat to close out the term vacated by former councilor Bill Cole in July. So we're going to go through the same 3 questions for each of them, inviting each of them up to the podium to answer those questions. So we will start with the first question. I'm using my papers here. Tell us briefly about yourself, your skills, your background, your previous experience, and what do you or would you bring to the town council? And we'll start with Brian Hussey.
Good evening, folks. For those who don't know me, my name is Brian Hussey. I'm not a good speaker like Candace. I'm gonna try to get through this as best I can. I've been a resident of South Berwick all my life. My family's been here for 4 generations. I'm sorry. I'm trying. Like I said, our family's been here for 4 or 5 generations. We've had businesses in town for 3 generations. I don't know a lot about government, but I'm willing to learn. I think my strong suit is, hands-on. I've run businesses. I have 3 I run now. I think that's where I can help balance the council out some, where they know the government and, I know the hands-on. I've worked with the town for over 35 years whenever they had questions, about building roads or doing bridges or, anything like that. Jay Reddymark is always coming to me for advice. I help him out that way. Been here all my life, 53 years old. I've seen the town grow from the start. From my start, not from the start. But yeah, I think it's time for me to give back. I have a lot of involvement with the kids, all the youth programs. I think that's very important to us. Again, I'm nervous as heck. But you won't be disappointed in my work ethic. Anybody knows me knows that I work very, very hard. And when I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm very honest. And I think this town needs a lot of help. Again, my strong suit, not government, but hands-on. I think that will help balance things out. So that's my introduction. And we'll take step 2 in a minute. Thank you.
Okay, Joel Martin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joel Michael Martin, and I'm running for the South Berwick Town Council for the 2-year term. I want to thank the South Berwick Reporter for facilitating this forum, the other candidates for participating, and the residents who are here, watching online, and are watching the recap tomorrow or this weekend when you want some free time. I moved to South Berwick 6 years ago with my wife, Brittany. We live over in Aggies. We have a 4.5-year-old Reed who started at Central School. He is in pre-K, and a 2-year-old Will. Good government hinges on 3 crucial tenets: show up, listen, and choose the right way, not the easy way. I grew up in Lewiston, Maine, in a family that believed that rules weren't about red tape. They were about fairness. Everyone played by the same standards. When something broke, you fixed it. That's where I learned that integrity isn't about perfection, it's about accountability. I earned my degrees at the University of Maine and built a career focused on communication, project management, and people. I work in the technology industry. My job is to help clients succeed, helping organizations improve security, streamline operations, and build stronger systems. That means listening carefully, understanding different perspectives, and coordinating across multiple teams with competing priorities. I manage several projects at once, keep people aligned, and measure success by outcomes, not sound bites. That's precisely what good local government should be about. Our town council depends on collaboration, transparency, and results. I volunteered at local events, worked alongside neighbors on projects that make this community better, and I've listened. And this year, something truly inspiring is happening. More people than ever are stepping up to run, serve, and make their voices heard. Our community is engaged and hopeful about its future, and that energy is a gift. We can channel that energy into something thoughtful and lasting progress. And I'm ready to lead that change. We can grow together, and as we continue to grow, that growth must be responsible, balanced, and sustainable. We need to plan not just for next year, but for the next 5, 10, and 20 years. Of equal importance, we need to strengthen our communication and transparency, so our residents know how and why decisions are being made. And when people understand the process, whether it's budget, zoning, or taxes, we build trust with them. I'm running because I believe that service, accountability, and collaboration are the tenets of town council. If elected, I'll serve with consistency, respect, and fairness.
Okay, same question than we had for the other candidates. In your view, what are the top issues facing the town of South Berwick right now, and how do you think the town's council should address them, being specific about your issues and recommendations? So Brian Hussey.
Well, now I know all you guys, I'm a little bit more comfortable. All right. As we look ahead, I see a few key areas where we can continue to strengthen South Berwick. Supporting local businesses and smart growth. Small businesses are the backbone of our community. As a business owner myself, I know the challenges they face, from regulations to workforce to infrastructure. I work to make sure South Berwick remains a place where small businesses can succeed, because when our local economy is strong, our entire town benefits. But growth has to be smart growth, development that respects our history, protects our environment, and maintains the small town character that we all cherish. 2 is strengthen the community resources. For maintaining our roads and supporting our schools, we need to keep investing in the services that directly impact our daily lives. That means making thoughtful, responsible budget decisions that balance fiscal responsibility, and the needs of our residents. Keeping government accessible and accountable. I believe in open communication. I want to be a counselor who listens, someone who can approach with a concern, an idea, or just a conversation. Transparency builds trust, and trust is what makes a good local government. Why does this all matter? I know that serving on the town council isn't about politics. It's about people. It's about doing the hard work behind the scenes so that our town keeps running smoothly, our families keep thriving, and our sense of community stays strong. Every generation before us has done their part to make South Berwick what it is today. Now it's our turn to carry that forward, to protect what's special about the place while also preparing for its future. A little bit better? Next one's gonna be outstanding. Thank you.
Bill Martin.
Perfect. And Brian, you were doing great. No. The 2 most significant issues that I see facing South Berwick right now are managing growth responsibly and maintaining a strong infrastructure while keeping government accountability at the forefront. First, growth in housing. South Berwick is a town that people want to live in, and that's something to be proud of. However, growth brings real challenges: housing availability, traffic, and the need to preserve our small town character in the process. State laws like LD 1829 that you've heard about and LD 2003 now require every main town, including ours, to allow more housing density. These laws are meant to solve a real problem, but they also mean we have to be smart about how we plan for it. We can't stop the growth, but we can shape it. This means focusing new development near existing infrastructure, updating our zoning to ensure long-term viability, and protecting our open spaces. We can build more housing without losing who we are if we plan ahead. That planning requires collaboration between the town and the community. It demands intentional decision-making that balances progress with preservation. Second, infrastructure, communication, and accountability. Our roads, water system, and public spaces are the foundation of our town. We need a long-term capital plan, not one-year fixes. We need to make the most of state and federal grants to ease the local tax burden. Equally important is how we communicate. When residents are surprised by a tax increase or confused about decisions, it erodes trust. We must improve our communication of change, explanation of information, and provision of resources for future planning aligned with the town. Transparency isn't just about posting meeting notes. It's proactive communication, clear reasoning and opportunities for input before the vote happens. We need consistency in enforcement. When people and businesses play by the rules and others don't, it hurts everyone. This enforcement isn't about punishment, it's about fairness. And fairness is the foundation of trust, and our success is built on that trust. The issues before South Berwick, trust and collaboration, they are intertwined. If we plan growth intentionally, invest wisely in infrastructure, and communicate openly, we'll keep South Berwick strong, not just for today, but for decades to come. That's the kind of leadership I'll bring: steady, fair, grounded in process and not politics.
Okay, I can just sit here and.
You're good. I think we know who's next.
Yeah. It's just closing comments. So we're gonna have the closing comments from the candidates. Tell us anything else you want to address tonight. Brian has to.
Yeah, again.
You.
Oh, all right. I'm not running because I want a title. I'm running because I care deeply for this town. I want to be part of the building this next chapter, one that honors our past, supports our present, and invests in our future. So tonight I'm asking you for support, your ideas, your input, and yes, your vote. Putting all things aside, I've lived here all my life, and I consider this town, part of my life. I've been here forever. My family. I want my kids to be able to live here next to me and not get pushed out because of the tax burden. I'm here to help with that. I want him to have his kids here and raise their families here. Yeah, if you vote for me, I guarantee you won't find a harder working individual on making things right. Okay? So I'm asking you for your vote and your trust. You give me that and I'll give you hard work. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brian. Joel Martin.
Last speech of the night, guys. How we feeling? Feeling good? Oh, sorry, we have school board. Never mind. I'll stop talking. Just kidding. I got you excited, but now I got your focus back. With me on town council, you'll get someone who doesn't look the other way when things get uncomfortable. I'll be an advocate for those that feel unheard. I'll stand up for what's right, even when it's not popular. I built my career on collaboration, accountability, and problem solving, and I'll bring that same mindset to our town government. My decisions will be based in facts and fairness, not emotions or politics. At the end of the day, this isn't about politics, it's about simple local leadership. Leadership that doesn't mean you have to be the loudest person in the room, and it's not about talking the most or getting the headline. It's about who shows up, who listens, and acts, especially when something's wrong. It's about addressing issues by working within the rules that govern them rather than working around them. I saw that kind of leadership tested during the most recent school budget meeting when misinformation started spreading about our teachers, our school board, and even members of our community, and I couldn't stay silent. I stood up, I shared the truth, and I helped keep the focus where it belonged, on supporting our students and our schools. The budget passed because the majority wanted progress, not division. But that experience also showed me something important. We need better spaces for people to ask questions, share their concerns, and feel heard before things reach a boiling point. I want to help create those spaces. Structured, respectful, and solutions-driven, where residents can engage on issues like the budget, development, and town planning without it becoming personal or divisive. Our community conversation should be about solving problems, not about attacking our neighbors. That's how trust is built. That's how real progress happens. That's the kind of leadership that I believe in. Steady, principled, and willing to do the hard work, even when it's not easy. Leaders who can measure twice and cut once. who take the time to get it right instead of just getting it done, who remembers that public service is about the public, not themselves. That's the kind of leadership, if that's the kind of leadership you want and the community you believe in, one built on fairness, accountability, and respect, then I'd be honored to earn your vote and serve South Berwick. Thank you for your time and your engagement. If you want to reach me, electjoelmartin@gmail.com, electjoelmartin.net. And you've probably seen me post on our local Facebook pages. You can just ping me there. Thank you.
All right, so that was our candidates for town council. Thank you all. And now we're going to hear from Joe Long, who is running unopposed. You'll come up to the podium. I'll just sit there and you can just stand here. I'm not going to pop back up down. So come on and you can start with the introduction. Just tell us about yourself briefly, skills, background, and experience.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you all for coming. I'm Joe Long, as was said. I've lived out on Earls Road since 2007, so I've been in town for 18 years, which makes me the youngster of the group, I think, in terms of time in town. I've been on the South Berwick, the MS80 35 school board for 4 terms now. I'm completing my 4th term next month. So 12 years, and I've been the chair of the board since I think 2019, so about half of that time. I live out on Earls Road with my wife Jessica and our daughter Maeve, who is a senior at the high school. I retired from the workforce in 2021, and so the school board here and also my role on the Maine School Board Association. I'm the president-elect up there, and will soon be the president. Those 2 things are what keeps me largely busy these days. I just want to say by way of introduction that I'm on the board and hope to continue to be on the board because I passionately believe in this enterprise of public education. I think it's one of the best things that we do as a society, and I think we should continue to keep it strong. Providing equitable opportunity for all of our kids is so important. So that's who I am. I'm going to segue right into the second part of the questioning. Couple of issues that I wanted to talk about facing the district. Mental health has been a concern now for some time. Our kids took a beating during the pandemic, and since there has been a dramatic rise in anxiety and depression diagnoses among our kids, partly due to the pandemic, partly due to the influence of social media and the ubiquitousness of cell phones and things like that. And so I want to talk about a couple of things that the district is doing this fall in that regard. First, our high school is sponsoring a sort of virtual online book group where people are going to be invited to read it, and parents in the district, citizens in the district, all invited to participate in this. A book called The Anxious Generation. The author's name is escaping me right now, but if you look it up, I'm sure you'll find it. Jonathan. Yes, Jonathan Haidt. Thank you. He draws a very strong correlation in that book between the rise of social media and the ubiquitous of cell phones with our kids and this increase in diagnoses of anxiety and depression. And the case, I think it makes a strong case, not just for correlation, but for causation as well. So this book group is going to happen. We're going to ask the community to join when they can, study the book, understand the problem. The second thing that the district is doing this fall, our policy committee is taking up a cell phone policy for the schools, all of the schools. The first read on that policy will come out of the policy committee, I think in our first meeting in November. Our typical flow for policies is we do a first read, and then at the subsequent meeting, there's a second read. But in this instance, because it's a hot button issue for a lot of people, we're going to insert a kind of a public workshop in the middle. So at around our second meeting in November, we're going to conduct an open workshop with whoever in the public wants to come and attend and talk about this with us. And then we'll follow that with a second read. We hope to have the policy instituted in the district for the start of the calendar year in January is I think how that's going to go. And while I don't want to speculate on exactly what the policy is going to say, because the committee is still working on it. I suspect there's going to be something along the lines of a bell to bell. Keep your cell phones in your backpack or in your locker or in pouches, however we decide to attack it. Yeah, so second thing I wanted to talk about is more of a potential longer term issue is of course, we always worry about the financials of the district. Budget is always a major concern for us. The federal funding picture has gotten a little bit weird lately. So we're just gonna have to see how that plays out. I think our district, between the special ed funding and the various title grants, I think we probably get something coming up on $1 million in our budget from federal funds. And if that goes away, we're gonna have to figure out how to replace that. So something we're keeping an eye on. And I said two things, but third thing, we're always in need of bus drivers. If anybody out there feels like you're being called to be a school bus driver, please consider it. Okay, so that was my 2 + 1 issues. And then just in closing, I have been given the opportunity by the voters of our town to serve the district for the past 12 years on the school board. It's been very rewarding for me. I've seen some amazing stories happen with kids we have a good school system, I really think. It's been a privilege and an honor for me to be able to serve in that capacity. And my goal for the next 3 years is going to continue to be a strong supporter for public education. Thank you.
Okay, so I think our plan is go till 9 if we can. So we do have time, I think, for some additional questions. And so are we going to just take a short break, or are we, and because there's so many candidates, we didn't really plan this part very well.
No.
Just to let you know. So Candace is going to answer every question for everybody. I think that we'll probably be able to just pick 1 or 2 questions, unfortunately, from the group. And then I think what we'll do is just have the town council come up and probably just give each person a minute. So it'll have to be pretty short in terms of your response. But it's nice to be able to get a couple additional questions in. So just give us a minute and then we'll pick that question or 2. Yes, just a mini break. What's my suggestion? Oh, and talk to people. That's a nice idea. I think we can still get a couple in. I think we've got a couple. So we probably don't have, I should get off camera. So we probably just want to pick. And then Paul's idea was just that. Paul's idea was just them people just going around and talking. Yeah. Right. That's workable. Yeah, 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 okay. I think we're just, and should I combine them, you think? Oh, sorry. So let me ask you, these are two questions, on each one. Anybody who wants.
Yeah. It's about lumber and taxes.
Yeah. Okay, all right. I think we got it. I think we got it. We're gonna do two questions. I'm gonna combine one of them. And then we're gonna have each candidate, basically anybody who wants to come up can come up. And what's that? Any candidate? Sorry, yeah, yeah. Not anybody in the room. Any candidate. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this one. It's a little bit long. Sunday, October 12th, Press Herald reported on the impact on Mainers of the loss of SNAP benefits and the resulting demand on local communities and food pantries. Reports from local food pantries suggest the same increase in demand as those featured by the Herald. At the same time, the cost of food, electricity, home heating, oil, and housing are all on the rise, creating what would be a perfect storm of financial strain for local households. As town councilor, how would you address these growing gaps between basic needs and affordability within our community and assure that the neediest among us can thrive? So I think what I'll do is just go down the list of names and you can let me know if you'd like to come up and answer that. And I'll leave that question right here in case you want to take a look at it. Brendan Boyle.
Okay, so just to clarify, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry, yeah, I mean, if you go over. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the first thing as a town councilor I would do to sort of address these gaps and basic needs is with communication, let people know about the general assistance funds. The town has money set aside for people in these dire situations. As a board member of Sobo Central, we've seen it too. Demand for heating oil has gone up, demand for the food pantry has gone up. When I spoke with the town manager about this a little while ago, just out of my own curiosity, there are programs available for senior citizens who are experiencing, rising property taxes. They can, I'm not quite sure of all the features of the program, but they can freeze property taxes at a rate. And then over time, either get back closer to where they should be, pay down that debt, or just gets collected on the sale of the house. So there are programs available. They may not be incredibly well advertised, but talk to the town manager, talk to the general assistance department with Don Morrow. There is help available.
All right, Melissa Costello, would you like to?
I actually have an unfair advantage because this was discussed at the last council meeting. As of right now, our budget for general assistance is $38,000. And averaging a year, we only give out $1,900. And I think one of the reasons why is definitely what Dan just said is people don't know how to get it. Don Moreau is the go-to person. It needs to be advertised more. But one of the things that also has to happen in our town is our strong residents have to stop being so proud. A lot of people will not get help because of their pride. So if you know somebody that does need help, you have to encourage them, even when they don't want it. So be a good neighbor, be there for each other, and just we'll all get through this one way or the other. Thank you.
Yeah, I would echo the sentiment of the other candidates related to communicating the availability of the existing funds. I would also leverage my relationship with my sister, who is the executive director over at Fairtide at Mainspring, which they have a food pantry, and as a counselor, I'd love to maybe get Mainspring a little more involved in South Berwick and see what they could offer to our town in addition to their current footprint, which is Kittery. That also is to say, if you live in South Berwick, you still can go to Mainspring and Footprints Food Pantry. It's open to anyone who needs it. Lastly, I will say next Thursday at Happy Valley, we're hosting a candidates meet and greet night. We're going to be donating 20% of our sales to the food pantry in South Berwick here. All the candidates are invited to be there. It's from 5 to 7, and everyone here is also invited to be there. So we'll have a bin of sorts out for donations to be collected for the food pantry, and then again, also we're donating 20% of our sales. Thank you.
We're what, 15 days the federal government's been closed for business? Local area, those people that work at Pease or at the shipyard, all of a sudden, they're not being paid. So I think the benefits are going to end up affecting other people that have not had a use or need for it. You know, and it comes down to pride. I think that was very notable. There aren't a lot of people that will turn around and they'll provide help, but they don't want to receive help. And this town is very strong with that generationally. So I think that's an area in which the town needs to, whether it's discretion, whether it's more privacy or whatever, I think that those avenues need to be opened up and taken advantage of. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, this is, I think, going to be a huge issue, just not for on food security, but possibly other issues. I mean, I think there's going to be decisions are being made at the federal and state levels, and I think sometimes they're going to end up in our lap. So I think we need to have plans. I think everybody sort of talked about what they should be to some degree. I think South Berwick has always been a very giving community. I think we all know that, and we've talked about it a lot here tonight. I think a lot of that has taken place on a volunteer level. I think the town council and the town itself, we need to really look at our budget, see what types of funds we might have through undesignated funds or whatever, and just have some sort of rainy day fund available that we know we can rely on as things start heading in. Hopefully they won't, but if they start heading south for our citizens. And I'll be doing my part at Happy Valley on Thursday if you want to come talk about it some more. So thanks.
So I actually sat in on the town council meeting on Tuesday, and to hear that there was 38,000 a year for all of that, and that only 19, and I think a year or two it was like 2,100 or 2,200 was used, was mind blowing. And talking about posters and getting it out social media wise, I think needs to happen more. I do agree that the residents of South Berwick's pride holds them back. I know multiple families who refuse to ask for help due to the privacy. They're afraid because they're known in this town very well. So I think they need to be reassured that it is private and it's not going anywhere. And I know Dawn does a great job with that. So thank you. Ryan.
I want to add to that. You guys did a good job. I don't know much experience to that, but I don't know if we could do fundraisers. Is that something that's for more money? Is that what the question's about? Is we don't have enough money or we have too much?
I don't know, it's right there.
I am willing to help out in any way possible. I think it's a great thing to be able to help out communities. And I have a place down on 236. We can have fundraisers if we need to do so. So I got it. Thank you.
Everyone has definitely echoed a lot of really good points for it. I think just overall, I think one thing we need to also keep in mind, this is one of the reasons we pay taxes. We're at the local level, but also the state level. We live in a society, and these safety nets are a part of that. And people should not be afraid to access them, and we should promote them more. To the point earlier as well, I think it's something really nice to bring the community together for fundraising events, for activities. I also think this is another reason why it's very important that you look at who you are voting for and what they intend to do, because these decisions are made in our town, at our state level, and at a federal level, and we are impacted every single day by them.
All right, I'm going to combine two questions, and some of you touched on this, but I think it's something that's on a lot of people's minds. So I'll just read them both and then you can respond. Even though the South Berwick tax rate went down this year, the shock of higher valuations and therefore higher tax bills in the mail still reverberating through the community. What would you do differently than past town councils to increase transparency or community input around town spending and tax decision? If keeping taxes level means delaying or cutting certain town projects, what are you willing to scale back? What do you believe is worth paying more for? What would you specifically as a counselor do to ease the financial burden on South Berwick residents? And a similar question here was asked, what are your thoughts to protect fixed income taxes so people are not forced to move out of their homes? Okay.
Like a little blurb out of it.
Okay, sorry.
On the spot.
Yeah. You want to just, I mean, I just riff on it, just riff on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a year's work.
They're taxes and
Yeah, I think it's a year,
maybe speak to that.
yeah, I think it's a year-long discussion, probably. I, I can do that. Well, I outlined some things before, and I'm sure nobody can remember what they were. But in any case, I think, one of the things that when I get a tax bill, and we all get the bill that shows a little pie chart, saying how your taxes are allocated, and that's great. But when I look at that, I don't see a pie chart. I see a tax bill. I mean, I look and I see a number on there, and there's three entities on there: the school, the county, and the town. And they're all out there creating their own budgets approximately at the same time. And I think it would be really helpful if maybe at the beginning of each budget season for each one of those entities, maybe they just get together and just say, okay, what are you seeing? Are you looking at like major cost increases this year? What do you think your revenue stream is going to be? Because I think it's very easy when you have three different entities who are budgeting in their own little silo about and possibly not talking. And Joe, I don't want to, I know you guys get together, but I think it needs to happen early in the budgeting process so that people can understand and the public, and it can be communicated to the public about where these budgets are going. And I don't think it's that big an ask. I mean, it's just, it's communication. So I think there's other things the town can do as far as efficiencies. I'd lay some of those out. I'd be happy to talk to anybody anytime about any of that. I love that stuff. But anyway, those are my ideas.
So I'm with Paul. I look at the pie chart, and I see the amount spent on education, and usually I look at that, kind of do the quick math in my head on how much my property tax, how much I'm paying for schools. And pretty much every year I come up with the same conclusion, is that my kids have been getting a great education for about $5 a day based on my property tax. And I think that is an absolute bargain. My kids have had great educations. They've taken advantage of the Sanford Tech programs. It's really set them up very well for, later in life. I also look at sort of how much I'm paying for in the town tax, and I look at what I've got available to me in that taxes for even less money per day. We've got a fantastic library. We've had a fantastic rec department. The roads are always really well plowed. I feel like I'm getting a bargain for what I'm paying out. let's see, what else can we tackle on this? You know, I think we're on, let me look at chapter 2 here. As a town councilor, I think, you know, you have to keep in mind that the property tax does hit some people pretty hard. Again, through communication that, you know, letting people know that the town hadn't done a reevaluation for, I can't remember how many years. Yeah, so people were going, there was going to be a big jump. I think people, you know, some people knew it was coming, other people really didn't. And I think through communicating and figuring out sort of how did we get to this point, would have gone a long way with a lot of these people. And, you know, so you can say at some point, you know, we had a reevaluation after 20 years. If their property tax bill has jumped up, they don't take a whole lot of, you know, solace in the fact, well, you got a great bargain for 19 years. It's, you know, they look at what happened in year 20. So, thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm just gonna cover that. So the two things I'm gonna take out of that is a lot of people were very frustrated, and we saw it all over Facebook and the Bolt and everything, that people were angry about their property taxes being increased. It's already talked about, they need to happen. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think Maine requires us to do them every 10 years. So we failed as a town to do that, so everyone got hit with a massive bill. We need to do them every 10 years. So now we know the next one is going to come up in 10 years. What the town council can do, 5 years out, they let everyone know it is coming. We open it up to bring in multiple different offers. We hear from other people, because I will be honest, I agree with you. The last one that did it, I don't think they did a great job. We open it up, we make it competitive for all those vendors to come in. That is year 2. The town chooses the one that we want. We open it up then for them to do presentations to everyone in the town, multiple different opportunities, Saturdays, town council meetings, everything like that. Year 3, they go out and do the evaluations. Year 4, they send them out to people, but they do not go into effect for a year. That gives people time to plan for their tax rates to go up, rather than getting a message saying you owe this in the next 3 months. That was super fun. For the other one, I would say, like, we just need to keep kind of advocating and fighting. CMP's trying to raise their prices right now. I don't know if you guys feel that. I feel like they haven't done a lot to get their prices raised. The last ice storm we had, a lot of poles went down because they haven't cut trees. So that kind of threw a wrench into, I think we're out of power in my house for 36, 48 hours. But then the other topic that people have brought up a lot is, if you want to reduce taxes, you have to bring in revenue in some other way. Prices are going to keep going up. There's nothing we can do about it. So we have to bring in more businesses. Joe, I don't want to talk potentially. Do we look at where the bus routes go? If you give me coffee, I might drive a bus. I don't know. But we have to look at ways to bring money in, rather than saying we can't spend this, because prices are they're just going to keep going up. There's no way to avoid it. So we have to find that revenue somewhere else. That was more than a minute, I'm sorry. It's a big bang.
Yeah.
That was the last.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I would just say the idea of I guess what a workshop between the school district and the municipality and potentially the county would really, I think, result in a potential for cost sharing across some of the expenses that exist simultaneously in each of those entities that are similar, if not the same. So you're leveraging essentially the power of volume to get better deals on things. As I said earlier, also, you know, doing, I thought it was a good phrase. Berwick called it. It was like a ground up budget or something like that, where it's like we like fully reevaluating what our general ledgers are, our accounts. They need to be in line with generally acceptable accounting principles. There's also another entity out there that's specifically related to municipalities, and I think based on what I see in the scanned Excel sheets from the reports that our current accounting system puts out, I can't imagine that this system is capable of running a quick report in a couple of seconds and giving you the details that you really need to determine where you're at. We see it once a year in the annual report, and then the draft budgets come out and they tell you approximately 60% through the year where we're at with the current spending. Again, so if we could start seeing those numbers more frequently, I think we'd be able to keep track of where we're at, what our spending is, and that again would help identify areas where we can potentially do those cost sharings and create more efficiencies. Obviously, you know, the budget and property taxes are related to the budget. So if you can reduce the budget or at least levelize it, then you're gonna, you know, help, I wouldn't say solve, make the problem less bad. Anyway, yeah, I'm just thinking pragmatically, you know, dollar for dollar and looking at things with detail. I think that's how I'd start.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. You know, we have a few additional questions, but I think given sort of the time and everything, maybe if the candidates could just hang out a little bit and people can go up and ask them the questions, talk to them, get to know them a little bit. It sounds like there's an opportunity on Thursday night, is that right? Next Thursday to go to Happy Valley and meet the candidates, town council candidates there. And someone had asked actually if there was a way to put like a 1 or 2 page resume for each candidate, to kind of just see what some of their backgrounds are. So maybe we can try to figure out a way to do that. Because I think that's a great idea. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much to the candidates. Really appreciate your willingness to serve this town, and give your time in that way. Everybody, please remember the election is November 4th. Make sure and vote, at the high school. Okay, good to know. And again, thank you and thanks to everyone, and South Berwick Reporter for setting this up. We really appreciate it. Thanks all.